Welcome back to BREDW, and my name's James Roxer, and today we're diving into one of the most ambitious sci-fi shows of our time, Foundation. And yes, you heard that right, Foundation is officially renewed for Season 4. But here's the thing, this isn't just another renewal announcement. Know what just happened behind the scenes might be the biggest shake-up in the show's history, and it could completely rewrite the destiny of Asimov's legendary universe on Apple TV+. So let me ask you this. What happens when the architect of the entire series, the guy who literally built the roadmap for all the seasons, walks away before the journey is complete? Does the Foundation collapse, or does it evolve into something even more unpredictable? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just a recap of the news. It's the forbidden knowledge of how Season 4 could look radically different from anything we thought we were getting. Because make no mistake, David S. Goyer leaving was not a small change. He wasn't just a name in the credits. He was the one who told Apple he needed 8 seasons to do this story justice. He was the one carefully weaving Asimov's sprawling novels into modern television arcs. And now, he's gone. The man who promised us a roadmap has abandoned the road, and in his place, new hands are gripping the wheel. Hands that might not be afraid to take a sharp turn. Ian Goldberg and David Cobb are now the co-showrunners, and if those names ring a bell, it's because you've seen their fingerprints on other massive genre shows, Fear the Walking Dead, Once Upon a Time, The Flash. These are storytellers who know how to keep audiences hooked, but their style. It's very different from Goyer's meticulous puzzle box approach. And that could mean Foundation Season 4 doesn't just continue the story, it reinvents it. And before we go deeper, let me just say this once, if you're watching this video right now, if you're fascinated by how your favorite stories transform in ways nobody tells you about, then you need to hit subscribe. Because every single week, we uncover the hidden truths behind the shows you love, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, back to Foundation. The renewal itself is a big deal. Apple didn't just greenlight another season, they doubled down on one of their most expensive, most ambitious shows right before the Season 3 finale even aired. That is rare. Studios usually wait to see how audiences react to the end of a season before committing. Apple didn't wait. Why? Because despite the chaos behind the scenes, budget adjustments, production delays, and a showrunner exit, Foundation still climbed to the top of Apple's streaming charts. That means Apple isn't just confident in this show, they're betting their entire Sci-Fi brand on it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Season 3 ended with huge character shake-ups. Brother Day Demerzel, Hari Seldon, characters who've been the backbone of this series, seemingly reached their endgames. And yet, anyone who's been paying attention knows this show has a habit of resurrecting its icons, bending time, cloning, simulations, you name it. So the question is, who's really gone and who's just waiting to return in another form? And that's the problem. Nobody's talking about Foundation is entering uncharted territory. On one hand, the story looks like it's heading straight into Second Foundation, the third book of Asimov's trilogy. On the other hand, the departure of Goyer means we can't actually trust the map anymore. Goldberg and Cobb might stick to the novels, or they might veer into the expanded Asimov universe, the robot series, the crossover material, even original arcs that Asimov never wrote. Which would mean Season 4 could be the most faithful adaptation yet, or the furthest departure. And let me throw you a wild theory right here at the start. What if Apple wants Foundation to go beyond Asimov? What if the plan is to turn this into their own endless sci-fi universe, a rival to Star Wars or Dune, using the Foundation name as the launch pad? Because think about it, Apple isn't just renewing a show. They're carving out their identity in the streaming wars. They already have Invasion, they had C, and now Foundation is their crown jewel. Would they really limit it to just retelling Asimov's old books when they could build something even bigger? But that's exactly why this renewal is so controversial. For purists of Asimov, this might feel like betrayal. For fans of the show, it might feel like liberation. And for Apple, it's pure strategy. Because in Season 4, the Foundation story we think we know might finally break free of its original foundation, pun absolutely intended, and become something that Asimov never dreamed of. Stick with me, because in the next part, I'm going to break down what Season 4's story might actually look like, which characters could return despite their deaths, and the hidden connections to Asimov's second Foundation that nobody's talking about yet. Trust me, the secrets buried in this story are deeper than you think, and they might just change the way you see the entire series, so let's talk about the elephant in the galaxy, or maybe the mule in the room. Season 3 left us with an ending that was both triumphant and terrifying, Gal Dornick surviving the mule, but not quite defeating him. Instead, she fled, and now the threat of his rise hangs over the universe like a shadow you can't quite escape. And if you know your Asimov history, this isn't just a minor villain setup. This is laying the groundwork for the second Foundation, the hidden counterweight to everything the Empire, and the first Foundation have built. And that's where things get really fascinating. If Foundation Season 4 does adapt Asimov's second Foundation, then this isn't just about more battles or political schemes. This is about a war of minds. A secret society of mentalics capable of bending thoughts and reshaping destinies, working in the shadows to ensure Hari Seldon's grand plan doesn't collapse. And remember Beta? By the end of Season 3, she wasn't just some pawn in the Mule's game. She became one of the most dangerous players on the board. Here's the forbidden knowledge nobody's talking about: the Mule is only half the problem. The second Foundation doesn't just fight against tyrants, sometimes it fights against the very people who think they're preserving order. And that means Gal, Beta, and maybe even the Empire itself could find themselves standing on the wrong side of history. Now let's talk cast. Lou Lobel as Gal Dornick, locked in. This is her story now. But Lee Pace as Brother Day, that's where things get messy. Day's story seemed over, but Foundation has already proven death isn't always the end. Clones, holograms, genetic memories, digital resurrections. The show has so many tools to bring him back, it's almost suspicious. Would Apple really let go of its biggest marquee star that easily? Don't be shocked if Brother Day, or some twisted version of him, finds a way back onto the throne. And what about Jared Harris as Hari Seldon? Season 3 practically gave him a farewell, but Hari is as immortal as his equations. He's the ghost in the machine, the prophet who can't quite die. If the story leans harder into the second Foundation, don't be surprised if Hari reappears as a guiding, maybe even manipulative presence, one who knows far more than he's ever let on. Demerzel, however, is the real wild card. Laura Byrne's performance has been a cornerstone of the series, and even though her arc looked like it ended, her ties to the robot series in Asimov's books suggest she might be far more important than anyone realizes. Could Season 4 finally begin weaving Foundation into Asimov's larger robot universe, connecting the dots toward R. Daniel Oliver, the ultimate hidden architect of humanity's destiny? That's not just a fan theory anymore, it's where the breadcrumbs are pointing. And this is where I need you guys. If you were in charge of Season 4, would you rather see the focus lean into the Mule's unstoppable rise, or the grand reveal of the second Foundation pulling strings in the background? Drop your choice in the comments, because this is where the show could split into two very different directions. But here's the kicker. Apple doesn't just want another good season. They want Foundation to be their Game of Thrones. And that means spin-offs, expanded lore, and crossovers aren't just possible, they're inevitable.